All right. Hey, Sharon.
Hey, hello. Hello. How are you?
Afternoon. I'm so happy to see you, and especially because we are on the cusp of something that we really do need to celebrate, right?
Yes.
And you could go ahead, feel free to share where you are right now and kind of what's going on in your life.
Well, I'm in the final stages of getting my divorce finalized, which is a
Mhm,
good feeling.
mhm.
Um, I have just been rehired by my previous company.
Yeah, so
Super excited
exciting.
about because I love my job very much
Yeah.
and was really sad with everything that happened with COVID. And my company is based out of the Czech Republic, so it wasn't like I was furloughed, I was terminated. So that was really difficult, not knowing the status of the company and whether they would be able to rebound themselves and rehire. But it's all worked out for me. I kept telling myself to be patient. It was hard because there were other people that were kind of being brought in before I was.
Yes.
Um, so that was a tough pill to swallow because I wasn't sure why. But at the end of the day, I'm there. I'm here now, and I'm super excited to be back with the company and making literally 5,000 less than what I had put as as my goal on
As
my
your goal.
vision board. So I got a nice raise as well. So that
So,
was
okay, so we have to just stop there for a second, right? Let's just, because this is really so amazing, because in our work that we do here at Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond, it's not just about we come to the table because we're experiencing some sort of fracture, whether it's a divorce or a separation, post-divorce, going through a divorce. That's why we all kind of are here.
mm-hmm.
But what ends up happening is when we get here, we realize that we're a whole person. We have a profession, we have relationships, we have ourselves, we have family relationships, familiar relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
all these pieces to us that I don't know about you, but I never thought I would be addressing all the pieces, but we
Right.
kind of do. And I think that when, especially in our work, one of the biggest pieces was you're looking at your future of the financial piece, right? How you were going to take
Yes.
care of yourself because
Yes.
you loved that job and you
Yes.
had a good income. And then, of course, COVID hit, and I'm sure so many people could attest to
Yep.
that. And it could have been very easy to kind of just go off the rails. And I'm not going to say we didn't. I did sometimes, you did sometimes. Like, this is what happens. Like, we sort of get a little confused, but
Yep.
you kept focused, you
Yep.
kept going, you followed the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to give you congratulations for that, because there's what we do here at Divorcing Gracefully, I don't think is necessarily rocket science. But
Mm-hmm.
what I do think it is consistency. If you remain consistent and you follow the tools that you were given, results will happen. And that's the hard part. What do you think about that? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, I knew going into this that there had to be this level of commitment. And I had done traditional therapy before and had spent
Mhm.
a ton of money on traditional therapy and felt like I was spinning my wheels. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't getting anything out of it.
Right.
And I was very, very frustrated. And I just felt like there was always such a lack of direction. And I would look for assignments to do or things because at the end of the day it takes two. When you're getting a divorce, it's easy to say, oh, it's all his fault, it was his actions that led to the divorce. But then I really had to look at myself in the mirror too and say, all right, now how did I contribute to this?
Mm-hmm.
And not just that, but then I had to go even deeper and look into my childhood
Yeah.
and really start from the very beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a better understanding now of why I chose the men in my life that I did. And I see the pattern and I see how I silenced myself and how I um, was extremely codependent,
Mm-hmm.
extremely. It took a lot for me to really look in the mirror and say, you are to blame for this as well because you've played a role and this is what you're not going to do moving forward. You are going to
Mm-hmm.
do things far different moving forward. And it's been it's been good. I mean, it's been good.
I mean, do you think
I
that
really believe in
it's
the
an
affirmations
opportunity
too.
for, well, I say God, it could be universe source, right? That God gives us an opportunity to develop a muscle that we may not have developed.
Yes.
And what I'm hearing from you is that muscle of, wait a minute, personal accountability,
Mm-hmm.
personal
Yeah.
responsibility, and then not looking at where you are as the victim, but then
Right.
reframing where you're looking and saying, where I can't change the past. I could take responsibility for my actions in it, and now I can learn from it, and now I can
Yes.
my future. I have the ability to manifest and mold and step into my future. And I think that I find that so many women come to the table, and it's not that we don't have dreams, and it's not like we don't say, okay, this is what I want. I just think when we sort of begin to move forward, when you don't have a plan or a system or a framework or a family or a community like to follow along with, it gets
Yes.
to be, it's almost like you don't know if you're dipping your toe in the water, how far it is until it drops off, right? You're ready to go, but you're kind of at that point. So
Yeah.
where would you say where you were when you first came to see me and we began to work together to where you are now? What would you say are your greatest sort of accomplishments or your greatest insights that you came?
Well, definitely getting over just the heartbreak of
Mhm.
losing somebody that I loved so dearly, and
Mhm.
I literally thought that I would never get over him. I literally thought that until my dying breath that I would just ache for this man, and that I would probably never look at another man or want to be with another man or be open to dating, because I was so wrapped up in my husband. Um, so again, as you just said, we're not victims. I've had to re-listen and review notes and just kind of remind myself of certain things like that I am not a victim. I
Yeah.
did play a role, and I accept that. I accept it as it is, and I accept Jim, and I've worked on forgiveness. Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my, and I remember when you said to me, you had said, I guess in one of the beginning conversations that we had together, um, I had said to you, hey, listen, Sharon, what's going to happen is you're going to have a breakthrough. We're just not sure when it's going to happen. Like you're going to feel a complete difference in how you're showing up in the world and what you're experiencing. I just don't know when. It could be in 1 week, it could be 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3. I don't even know. But
Right.
I remember the day that you came to me, and I think it was one of our one-to-one calls, and you had said that you just felt so different. There was something that shifted inside that you
Yeah. Yeah.
had released the sadness, maybe
Yeah.
that, that
Yeah.
sadness, and you were stepping into this joy and stepping into this loving of self that you may
Yes.
never, that you hadn't experienced before, but in
Yes.
such an amazing way.
I felt lighter.
Yeah.
Yes. I felt, like I said, there's something about forgiveness
Mm.
in terms of what had happened to me during the marriage. But the biggest thing too is forgiving myself. So I knew that was part of the puzzle.
Oh
That
my gosh, that is like gold right there. Isn't that
yeah,
gold? Is
that had to
yes.
be done. That was more important than anything.
Yes.
So, and I do think that I've quieted the inner critic, you know what I mean? That I know, and I realize that I really am a good person, and I'm not going to beat myself up any longer for mistakes that I've made. I've made peace with God in terms of things that I wish I could have done better and had done differently, whether it pertained to
Mm-hmm.
my husband or my kids or previous relationships or any family or friends. But I mean, I really feel like I've done so much growth and so much healing, and really looking inward,
Yes.
like I've never done before. I've never done this kind of work before. So for me, it's life changing. It is life changing. And I tell people, because people have said to me, you've changed, there's something different about you. Even my niece, even when I just started dating Polly too, she's like, you are like, it's like a load of bricks has been taken off your shoulders.
Oh, I'm getting
She's like, you
chills.
laugh, you smile, she's like, there's just this ease about you. It's you've got a different look about you even. Like I could tell that you're happy.
Mm.
So it's been great. It's been good. So
And
really the next piece of the puzzle, you know, because I started dating, I allowed myself to be vulnerable again, which I'm shocked that I did kind of, I don't even want to say that it was soon because I feel like it wasn't. I mean, it was well over a year and a half before I dated anybody.
yeah.
And I made that promise to
It was the
myself.
appropriate time for you, honestly. Like, I
Yeah.
think that like the time that you had before, like before you and I met, and then the time in the program, there were things that you needed to do first before you
Yes.
were ready to date. Right. And
Yes.
I think you did that. There was appropriate time you had, and
Yes.
it's the inner work that needed to be done first and addressed.
Yes.
And you know what? I think it also comes to, Sharon, you tell me this. I think there comes a time where we just take responsibility for our decisions because other people may not necessarily agree with it, or maybe other people are saying, well, are you sure you want to do that? But that's
Right.
kind of what we did our whole entire lives. When we could
Right.
say, wait a minute, I'm looking at this from an abundance perspective. I'm looking at this from my soul fracture being healed perspective. I'm not looking at this because I'm a victim. I'm not looking at this because I'm unhappy and now I'm trying to get someone else or something to make me
Right.
happy. That I'm showing up at the table 100% in love with myself and
Yes.
with the assumption I make good decisions. I
Yeah.
am a good person, that
Yes.
I am love and I am lovable. And
Yes.
then even if other
100%.
people don't agree with this, that's okay. It does,
Right.
but I'm showing up to the table and I'm making strong decisions, like a hell
Yes.
yes or a hell no, not a
Yes.
maybe so. And it
Right.
gives you the confidence and the
Yes.
self-worth to
Yep.
drive those relationships and learn what a good and healthy relationship is and be able to sort of cultivate it in the moment with someone and
Right.
really begin to see, okay. And I also think it's an opportunity to say, oh, great. Like, look at all the work I've done in this area. This is awesome. And then there may be some things that come up where you're like, wait a minute. All right, maybe I need a little more refinement here. Like, there's a little couple of things, but all in
Sure.
all, you have your power back. You have your happiness back. You have your strength back. You have your independence back. And I think all of those things can really never were taken away from you, but it was the weight of the environment that you were experiencing though. It was very, very heavy.
Yes.
And when all of that was taken away, the true lightness of Sharon came back. And that's when family and friends see that, because that means your energy has shifted because it's palatable. They could feel it. They're like, what's Sharon doing? Right? What is she doing? That because everything changes about you. The way we show up, the energy, the brightness in our eyes, how, how we're feeling. People tend to come to us some more often. And now that's where things begin to take hold, right? And hence, no coincidence, this job came to you and you got hired back right now because you're at the best vibrational level energy you have been. And you're showing up and you didn't allow what the world was telling you, which was you may not get this job. You didn't listen to that. We created your manifestation list which said, I have this job. I make X amount of dollars. I will be, and there was no question of if you were going to get it. Our belief was, of course you're going to have it. Of course it's going to be.
Right.
And it's kind of keeping through those times and your commitment and your perseverance and your determination that has yielded in such wonderful results for you. And I'm so incredibly proud of the work that you've done because it is honestly amazing.
Yeah. I'm super proud of myself. I am. And the other thing too, I want to mention, and I've seen brought up, in some of our discussions too, is I've never been alone. Yeah. So I literally went from my parents' home to marriage, and I didn't know what it was like to really be alone and kind of independent. I mean, I did everything to run the household pretty much independently, but I still had a husband. But I really thought being alone after Jim had moved out in March, I thought, how is this going to be? I'm going to be so lonely. Like, I'm going to need somebody. I didn't want to be needy. Yep. I'm enough. I'm enough. I don't need somebody to fill that void. And I've really become accustomed to being alone. I like it. I don't ever see myself married again. I don't see myself living with somebody again. I like the independence that I feel. I like being able to support myself and come and go and do as I please. I love that. And I want to be free, and I feel free. Even though my divorce isn't even finalized yet, I feel much freer than I ever have in my entire life. So it's great.
What is that worth to you, honestly? Because like everything, right?
Yes, it's worth everything. I mean, you can't put a price on it, really.
I say the same thing. When I wake up and I go to bed every day, just with that, what I would call it the lightness, right? Or the peace or the joy, however you want to say it. It's the peace of spirit where you really like who you are.
Yep.
Like
right.
where you're at. It's not saying everything is perfect. It's not saying there's not challenges, but that doesn't define who you are. Those are just challenges and problems. What defines who we are is how we're showing up. So how would you define how you are right now? How would you say you're showing up? So what superhero would you define yourself as if you had an opportunity to say
Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman. There you go. All the way.
I thought that the other day.
There's no surprise you thought about it because it came in my mind and we're definitely connected that way. So no surprise.
Yeah, I am immensely proud of myself, and I know that I've done a ton of work. I know that I've put a lot of thought and effort and time and energy into really doing the work and kind of clearing out,
clearing out of the junk.
That junk, to get rid of it and to let it go.
So what's on deck for you next then? What do you want to focus on? What's your goal? We might as well talk about this now for the next.
So the divorce will be finalized. My goal is to be done by the end of this year. So there's a couple things.
That's.
And then I will be selling my house.
Okay.
So I will be staying in Illinois because I'm not allowed to go to Indiana. The company wants me to stay in Chicago. It's a huge hub. My sales guys are the top in the country. So
I can't wait to see what this is going to bring to you, Sharon, because quite honestly, that staying where you're at in Indiana is not like a punishment. It's a complete gift. We just haven't seen it yet. We haven't seen the reason why you need to be in Indiana, but I'm telling you, I cannot wait to see what that reason is because I just know it's bigger and it's more beautiful and abundant than you and I could ever imagine.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? That's exactly what I was telling a girlfriend yesterday when I told her that I was rehired. And I said, my plan was to move to Carmel, Indiana. I have moved so much stuff already to Carmel, Indiana. It's stored in my mother's garage.
We may just have to go back and get that. See, Mom, you know what? I'm going to take that back. Or maybe not. Maybe just.
I don't know. But, I don't even really care. Like, I'm just kind of like, my thought process is I'm just going to go with whatever happens. It's going to just fall into place as it's supposed to be. And I'm not going to stress out over it.
Okay. So Sharon, I think this is really important to document, not only for yourself, but to document for whoever is watching this. How you're showing up in the world now is not how you were when I first met you. Like this ability to say, I'm just going with the flow because you feel 100% safe in it. There's no friction. There's no worry. There's no fear. And that was a muscle that you developed.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to sort of just document in that time and say, well, see, people think that it has to take years. You've got to be in therapy 20 years. You've got to do all these things for 30, 40. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. The transformation that you received, right? The transform is we're talking 3 to 6 months of time. We're not talking years and years and years. And now this is what I love where you're at, and this is why I can't wait to see what Indiana is going to bring you, right? Is you get to develop this further. Because like any skill that you get, we refine it, we build it a little more, we build it a little more, we build it a little more. So whoever's listening to this right now is that peace of mind that Sharon has been a developed muscle. The same thing with me. I no longer have to fear. I no longer have to worry because our core belief system is, of course, everything works out for us.
Right.
Of course, it's going to work out for us. Of course, and we also know how to bring in the manifestation, how to bring in what we want, and how to avoid what we don't want.
Right.
And I think once you become accustomed of how to do it. It's like cooking. First time you bake a cake, you're all over the place. Flour's all over the place. The eggs are, baking soda powder, which is which. I remember, oh my God, the first time I baked a cake that asked for cream of tartar. I don't know if you've ever had cream of tartar in a cake. I literally went and bought the cream of tartar sauce you put in a fish sauce, because I had no idea that because it's a powder. Cream of tartar is a powder that's used in bake. I had no idea. And I'm like, I actually bought the cream of tartar sauce, like at a
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I was so naive. And I was like, oh gosh. And then of course I realized it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like anything else. Like once you realize it, and sometimes you have to make that mistake. Sometimes you have to slide back to develop that muscle a little further.
Yes. Yes.
So what would you say to, two things I want you to address, if you don't mind. One would be, what would you say to future self Sharon right now? Like when you're listening to this 1 year from today.
Yeah.
What is it that you would like to say to yourself? And then secondly, what is it that you would like to say to that person who needs to hear your voice right now, that she's stuck, she's not sure where she's at, her soul fracture is so terrible. If you could kind of go back to that time when you were feeling that fracture, what would you say to her? But let's start with you first. What would you say to future self Sharon? Because you're going to be listening to this 365 days from today.
It's going to be so bizarre.
I know.
Just, basically just keep going. Just keep going and doing what I'm doing, and being thankful. Like I never did affirmations before, never thought of them. Occasionally if I would, get home after a night of drinking and be home safe, I'd be like, thank you, God, for getting me home safe. From driving, I drove home, I'm safe, I'm good. It's so much more than that and so much deeper than that, just being thankful and just remembering all the blessings that I have. And I had to remind myself of that, especially during COVID, because, I'm like, I'm going through a divorce. I don't have anybody. Like I was feeling really down. And of course, with the job loss and all of that, I just felt like everything was caving in.
Because it really was. If you think about all of our pieces as a human being that gives us an identity or that gives us safety, every single one of those pieces for you were fractured. So it was the marriage was fractured, the job was fractured, the home where you were living and what was going, that was so every single piece that gives us safety was affected. So there's no, it's kind of, wow, when we look back now, man.
I will be very interested to see what happens this next year with my son, the relationship with him. Because that's been very challenging. But, I'm giving him his space. Every so often I text, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not as emotionally invested or torn as I was before. What I realize is that everybody has a soul contract.
That's right.
And so I remind
things to learn
about that. And, things happen for a reason. And, his life path is, maybe very different than what I want for him. But that's what it is. And he's on his own journey as I'm on my own journey. And the only control I have is me and how I think and how I feel.
You have influence over him, but not control. You have control over yourself. So why don't we set an intention right now? So we're in October of 2020. So next year will be October of 2021. What would you like that intention to be? What would you like your relationship to be with your son? If you could say right now, what intention you would like to put out there, let's set that in stone, because that's meaningful, especially right now where you're at and everything that's sort of blossoming for you and all of the pain and the struggle that you've been through over years past. This is harvest time for you. And, I was talking about this with someone else this morning, and the concept came up that we so often are in pain so long that we forget that we have a harvest. We forget that we have a farm that we've planted seeds in that has fruit ready to harvest, but we're just letting it go to waste because we're not actually actively saying, I'm going to harvest this. It is my time to take this. Not please help me. Oh my gosh, please, please, please. It's no, this is my right. This is what is due to me, and I'm going to take it. So let's put the harvest in for your son. What would you like it to look like?
I would love more than anything for him to find healing.
Yeah.
You know, I want whatever that takes, whatever that looks like. I want him to be healed emotionally. Even if that meant that he doesn't really want a relationship with me, I would still want for him just to find peace and happiness and have healing in his heart.
And I'm experiencing like that feeling of full healing, a spiritual healing, an emotional healing, full, like just that congruence of peace.
Yep, exactly.
All right, and so it is. Let's put it out there, and so it is.
Yep.
All right, so now let's talk about what would you say to the woman who is listening and is feeling like you felt?
I would say I really got to a point where I had done traditional therapy for a couple of years. And I actually stopped going to therapy once I had filed for divorce because I had invested so much time and money prior, and just wasn't getting much out of it. And I just I was feeling very frustrated. And this particular woman had also been divorced twice, but she's a lovely woman, but I wasn't getting anything out of it. So I felt like over the years with certain situations that I had dealt with, I had tried, different people, and, some are good and some are not so good. But I started getting emails about these types of programs, or maybe just from Google search or what have you. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? And then I made that, that inquiry, and then we set up a phone call, and everything sounded wonderful. And I thought, look, I think you have to get to a place where you are really ready.
I agree.
For change. I don't think that it can happen unless you really, 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 in your heart of hearts, want to do the work and want to heal and move past this. I was very determined to get through it, and I know the only way. I've heard the saying before, like, the only way to get through the pain is to experience the pain.
Right.
And so I would remind myself on those days when I cried for hours and hours that it was good to get that out, that the days where I would cry for hours and hours would subside. It would become less and less and less and less. And it absolutely, positively, truly did. It was like those dark clouds began to slowly open up and lift. And it was like, wow, I can breathe again. Wow, I feel much lighter. I'm happy. I'm not thinking about it all the time now.
Yep.
I used to think about Jim and the divorce and the cheating constantly. It was like there was nothing else to think about. And I can honestly say, I feel like it's a miracle, the transformation and the change that has taken place in my entire being. Like, it's just,
I have to say, I feel the same way. I mean, listen, I love my program, and I know a lot of it was the tools and the systems and the processes that gave you framework and structure. But really, this is God's work. It is the miracle. It's the divine timing of us meeting. It's the divine timing of your heart being where it needed to be, where, like you said, you were committed to the change. You just that was it. Like, there was no other decision for you.
Right.
There was no like, okay, if this works, or if it wasn't. It was just like, I know I need to do something different. And you were determined and you were committed to do the work. And it really was your ability to remain consistent through it.
Yes.
And keep going, even when the times, like you said, where your heart was heavy, and even when there was triggers or things weren't going well, or even when it appeared like all the work that you've done maybe went back. Because what ends up happening is those are all just illusions, and those are stories. And when we learn how our body works, when we learn how our brain works, when we learn about the subconscious and conscious, now we become aware. See, one of the things that I love about the work that I do is, as a therapist, I could work with people for years and years and years, but why? And we don't get the transformations because I can't really come in and really say, hey, have you thought about this? Or you really guide and mentor and get in there. But as a transformational relationship coach, this is where we're able to do that.
Yeah.
But it's really where, you really are able to just put it all in the bag and just say, I'm doing it. And I think, there's another piece too, Sharon, that I think is so important. And that's the willing to take a little bit of a risk.
Yeah. Right.
And there's sometimes where something's right for you, you're ready to do it, but there's so much fear. And then we end up not doing it. This is the reason why, again, I do the work that I do. I went through 10 years of just avoiding things, and I don't want everybody to do the same. There's no reason to make mistakes over 10 years. It just doesn't need to be there. But I think it is that little bit that you're worth something, that I'm worth my investment, that this is a calculated risk. You're not going to the casino and gambling away dollars. What you're doing is you're investing for yourself for the rest of your life. Because like you said, to me, the peace and the love of the spirit and where you're going is priceless.
Right. Yes. Right.
Because that peace to me is where, listen, I love nice things. I think we share that. We just enjoy really nice things. I do. However, my peace of spirit is worth far much more than that. I'm happy. I could be happy anywhere because of the peace of spirit.
Yep. I agree. I totally agree.
And we could rebuild anything.
Yep.
I think it comes in that power. So with that said, I just want to congratulate you again. Congratulations on an amazing journey that is yet to fully blossom. Yes, so this is just the beginning of really amazing things. So congratulations on the job and for getting more than getting a raise. So not only did you get your job back, but you got a raise. Yes. Congratulations. Yes. Number 2, it's just your dating journey and really owning that and learning about yourself and what is meaningful to you. That's huge. Number 3 is the regaining of yourself, of really showing up and happy and able to make those decisions. And lastly, it's just an honor, really, Sharon, honor to work with you, to be a friend, to be a DG sister, all of the above. Yeah. This is the best part of my job, is when we get to this point where we get to see the results of the hard work.
And I have to say, even just re-listening to recordings from, previous lessons or calls with other girls, you really do take away a lot from other people and what they're going through and how you coach them. I'm like, okay, well, that's me too. I can take that and use that. Or I need to think about that. So, it's, like I said, you can't really put a price on it, because it really, really does. It does change your life. It really does. If you are committed to it, absolutely, you can absolutely turn this around. And it has absolutely worked for me. I know that.
That's what I say.
And when people who are getting divorced, I'm like, oh, I got to tell you about this.
I'm so glad. Please share. But but it is true. If you are committed to the work, and it's not only the work of healing the relationship of the divorce, of that piece of it, right? Yeah. There's so much more to you that is just waiting to be let out and born free. And I think that we are so conditioned as women to develop or take our time and really give it to so many other people besides ourselves.
Yes.
We would think nothing about investing or giving money for our children. We will think nothing about spending thousands of dollars for activities and things that like my daughter, she wanted to go to this volleyball. I can't even tell you the thousands amount of dollars I spent on it. Thousands. And middle of the year, she didn't want to go anymore. I'm like, no, you're going. So she went, but she was kind of like half-assing it. She kind of showed up and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. But that's where it's investing time, money, energy, and effort. I think all of those pieces, right? Time, money, energy, and effort into yourself, and then getting clear of what you really want, and then just making the decision to do it.
Yes, I think that's a very important point, because in the homework, really sitting down and focusing, okay, what do I want for a career? What does my career look like? What does my best life look like? What do I want in you know, in a relationship with a man, you know, what are those qualities? What is it I want? Where do I see myself? And really just taking the time to do that work.
Yeah.
And just that self-reflection and what makes Sharon happy and putting me first. It sounds so selfish, but you're right.
It doesn't, but that's exactly what I want you to say. That's it. We need to put it, we are our most valuable asset. And it doesn't mean that it's in spite of other people. That we need to be first. We could still love our children. We could still be a great employee. We can do all of those things. But by putting ourselves first and loving ourselves, we now give, when we give ourselves the permission to do that and elevate us, we now give other people the permission. So people see that, and we've learned how to set those boundaries.
Yes, boundaries is another one. Yes, very, very important. And yes, I've learned a lot about boundaries.
Well, my friend, and I cannot wait to see where this year is taking you. So don't forget to watch this 1 year from today.
I will.
And I will be in touch, and I hope, and I wish you all of the best, and congratulations on the job. I'm so honored again that we're here together at exactly this time, because there's nothing better than that, to have this big, huge celebration. So congratulations, and I'll see you soon. All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.